Thank you, gentlemen. This is the last question for the evening before your 1 minute close. The last question tonight will be, many of the U.S. candidates have stated that they would abolish the Department of Education. Do you believe education should be state-controlled rather than federally controlled? The question goes to Mr. Banks first.
It's absolutely a state issue, and those of you in the room who are running for a federal office, I know Andy Lyons back there has made his position very clear that he'll vote to eliminate the Department of Education at the federal level. This gets back to the 10th Amendment once again. The 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution makes it very clear that issues like education should be left to the states. And again, this gets back to this whole lawsuit that Indiana is fighting against the federal government to protect our state sovereignty on issues like these. It's a very cut and dry issue. And this is another example of where we need to fight for state sovereignty on issues like education. We need to take back control of education to the state and local level and not leave it up to bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. to waste money on all the things they waste money on the Department of Education. It's a great question, and it gets to the root of what we believe as conservatives, our ideology of what the role of government is at all levels. And again, as I told you 6 months ago when I signed that 10th Amendment pledge, that'll be a very much a top priority of mine when I get to the State House.
I applaud them for taking that stand. I would want to go one step further. And, you know, we have a great school corporations in other communities around here. It'd be nice to take back a little bit of local control also. We still keep getting the unfunded mandates. It's coming from the federal level and also at the state level. We keep sending our money to the state and it trickles back here, and that's why Huntington County is losing $2 million and the other counties are losing equally the same. So, it's what I said earlier, we need to go line by line and look at everything that we are doing, do what we can to help out the school corporations. Get back to what Ron had said earlier, let the teachers teach. That's what we want them to do. Thank you.
Mr. Fussman.
Well, the first thing you got to do is make sure that the money stays here too. If they're going to abolish the Board of Education, federal, don't we get to keep that money that they've been spending on that? Amen. Amen. Because we know what to do with it. I will guarantee you, you give that money to a bunch of good teachers, and we have a lot of them. I live with one. They know how to teach. You know what? But we've got the same problem at the state level too. We got to be honest here. The State Board of Education's got to be careful too that they don't think that they control everything. So you got to remember, you educate your children. You're the parents. You're in charge. You need to let us know. How do you want to do it? We need to listen to you. And I know each and every one of you out here love your kids, and you know what's best for them.
Mr. Leonard.
Thank you. I believe that the state should control education, not the federal government. I do not believe in No Child Left Behind. I think we do too much testing in our classrooms. I can't count on my 1 minute. I think teachers have more than their share of responsibility. Teachers in Indiana are not overpaid. I will tell you that when teachers graduate, many of them from college, many of them leave town or leave the country or the state and go out of town. We have to do away with minimum guarantees for school funding. We have situations like Lake County where the Gary school system gets over $12,000 a student, and because of minimum guarantees, Huntington County gets $5,800. Whitley County, consolidated, gets about $57,900, I believe. Whitco gets somewhere in the $5,800, $5,900 bracket per student. Why? Because of minimum guarantees in the school funding formula. It's been there since I've been in. I've fought hard to get it out. I have not been successful, but I keep fighting, and we need to do away with minimum guarantees.
Mr. Fussman, you have 1 minute for rebuttal.
Well, I'm not rebuttaling what he said, but what I am going to, I'm sorry. But what I am going to say is if we look at administrative cost of what it's taken to run our schools, that's where our problem is. We're spending too much money for people up there telling everybody how to do it. We have got to cut the administrative cost for the school system. It doesn't take, when I was in school at Huntington North, it was the same size it is now, and we had one vice principal. We didn't have 3 or 4 or 5, or who knows how many walked the halls, we're not even sure. We had one, and he did a good job. We have too much administrative cost. We must set a level for administrative cost and force them to stay at that level.
Well, gentlemen, that's the end of the formal questions. Before we wrap up, I just want to thank Cindy Gamrat for inviting me as the moderator tonight in Huntington County Tea Party. This is a great event, and thank you for your participation. In your closings, you have 1 minute to respond, and we'll start with Mr. Wall.
Well,